Hello, it's John Heaton, and today I'm going to talk about Flaming Pie, which has just come out on Archive Edition. So I didn't have the vinyl up until now. It was going for a small fortune if you wanted that vinyl. It was released in '97 in small quantities on vinyl. I didn't pick it up at the time. So I think if you wanted a copy until recently, you'd have to pay 150 quid for it, approximately. So now it's come out, still pricey, because I made it into a double album even though it was 53 minutes long. In the UK it was going for 40 quid. I guess it's a bit cheaper in the US. I picked it up in Nice in Fnac last week for 36 euros, and it does look great on vinyl. This cover is superb. Less keen on the back cover. Paul looks a bit like an old man really on there, but it suits the CD better, so I've picked up the CD as well just for completeness sake, although I have stopped buying CDs of late because a lot of this material is available on Spotify for free. If you've got a monthly sub with Spotify, you can listen to a lot of this stuff online without having to fork out anything. But seeing as I had all the other archive editions of McCartney, I thought I'd pick it up. But I'm obviously still awaiting the last two 70s archive releases, London Town and Back to the Egg, which I think are worthy, important albums deserving the archive treatment. So this album was released on the 5th of May 1997. It came the first thing to be released after the Beatles anthology, and apparently McCartney was kind of inspired by listening to all those Beatles outtakes, and apparently his record company had said, I don't want a new record from you out for the next couple of years because we're going to be concentrating on anthology. And at first Paul took this as a kind of an insult, and then realised, well, actually probably makes sense. And then when he went back into the studio, although he'd already recorded some bits and pieces earlier, like Calico Skies was recorded in '92 I think, and the earliest version of Beautiful Night in '86. When he went in, he shared production duties. He produced some of it himself. Jeff Lynne got involved, who'd also worked with George Harrison on Cloud 9 and with the Beatles on Anthology, of course. And Steve Miller is also involved on, not in the production, but he's playing guitar on a couple of tracks. And George Martin is coming in to help on at least two tracks. So it makes for quite a mixed album in terms of production, and I will say it is a little bit long, and it's not very often I sit down and play this album all the way through. In fact, normally when I get to Calico Skies, I think, okay, we're halfway through the album, and we're not actually. We're not much more than a third of the way through it. So it's a longish album, but then I looked at all his latter-day albums, virtually without exception. Maybe Memory Almost Full isn't too long, but Driving Rain was over an hour long. Chaos was around the same length as this, and so was New, and so was Egypt Station. So I don't know what happened to the concept of making a short but sweet, 35, 36 minute album, which I think is the ideal length. I think 30 is too short, but I think once it gets over 45, one tends to lose interest. There's obviously exceptions like double albums which can definitely work in some cases, as you know if you watch my channel. I'm a big fan of double albums, but I don't know why from the 90s onwards every artist under the sun saw fit to put out nearly an hour's worth of music every time they went into a studio, which I think is a little bit excessive anyway. I've laboured the point there. So Flaming Pie got mostly positive reviews. This is the uncut Ultimate Music Guide. The essay on Flaming Pie by John Robinson, and there's a quote from Paul Moody in The NME. Indeed, such is the lack of pretension surrounding Flaming Pie, it seems pretty much pointless firing any critical napalm in his direction at all, the old spoil sport. For posterity then, Flaming Pie could be worse. So it's not a bad comment, but it's a little bit sarcastic, as you see. And then I noticed one can never agree which are the great tracks on this album, because I think a lot of people think it's a mixed bag, as I do, but then we don't seem to. Here come the planes again. We never seem to agree which ones are the ones which let the side down a bit. So, for example, the Ultimate Music Guide gives 4 stars to the song we were singing, "The World Tonight," Calico Skies, Souvenir, Really Love You, and unbelievably gives 2 stars to Young Boy, 2 stars to Beautiful Night, 2 stars to Used to Be Bad, which is fair, 2 stars for If You Wanna, which is fair, 1 star for Heaven on a Sunday, which is a bit harsh, and 1 star for Little Willow, which is pretty scandalous. To give 4 stars to Really Love You, because that's the kind of workout jam he did with Ringo, and I think he could have lost that track quite easily. Maybe he included it because he wanted a couple more up-tempo songs, because it is a very ballad-driven, some might say sentimental album in terms of the lyrics, but he was just about to lose Linda, so maybe that had something to do with it. But I think Some Days is a highlight. For me, it's a 5-star track. George Martin agreed, said that he thought it was sensational, and he provided the arrangement for that. But this magazine gives it 3 stars. The song we were singing, the opener, I think it's a really nice verse and not a bad chorus. It's just a little bit repetitive and outstays its welcome a little bit at 5.5 minutes. The World Tonight I thought was a pretty decent up-tempo, quite amusing number with a not very good video to go with it. Young Boy I thought was a decent opening single for the album. This magazine doesn't like it, but I think most people do. Steve Miller turns in a pretty good guitar solo. That was recorded in Sun Valley, Idaho, with Steve Miller. And the rest of the album was recorded at Abbey Road Air Studios in London, which is on Oxford Street, and The Mill in Sussex, which is Paul's home studio there. So I think it could have been trimmed as an album, as I say. Little Willow, for me, is another 5-star classic. I love the way the piano comes in the middle. It's a gorgeous tribute to Maureen, formerly Maureen Starkey, married to Ringo, who died a few months before this. It's not actually mentioned on the sleeve notes that it's a credit to her, but a tribute to her, but Paul has admitted that in interviews. I think it's a gorgeous track. The Souvenir is similarly very nearly top-notch, and I think for those reasons, Beautiful Night for me is pun not intended, beautiful. He spent years trying to get the right version of this. I think Ringo contributes some nice humour at the end with his singing and good drumming. Don't know why this magazine doesn't like it. I think it's, up there with McCartney's best ballads, maybe lyrically not that strong, but who cares? On the CD you get, I didn't buy all the expensive box sets, by the way. I really do think they've become a rip-off. I wasn't even tempted, to be honest. Just coincidentally, I saw the box set for the new Deep Purple album in the shops today, and it was going for not much more than 50 quid, and it had loads of goodies inside. So I don't know what the pricing strategy is for the McCartney collection, and he's not the only one to inflate the prices with these box sets, as we've seen over the years. But some bands seem to be better value for money than others, just the way it is. So this CD has some bonus material, a lot of home demos. By the way, I didn't notice a big improvement in the quality on the main album. It says it's been remastered. But I think the technology in '97 made it a pretty well-produced album at the time, and I really don't think they've improved that much. And the demos, a lot of them are quite rough, which is quite charming in some cases, and but I don't think it's going to bear too many repeated listens. I did enjoy the demo, the home recording of Souvenir, and I did enjoy the run-through of Beautiful Night with Ringo. There's a couple of B-sides on here which are nothing to write home about. And then the box set has got all that ooby-jooby stuff, which I think is okay, but not essential. So nice to have this on vinyl. Nice that they had it in Nice, where I was on holiday last week, because hasn't arrived to Budapest yet. Don't know if they're going to bother stocking it at all. Maybe they didn't sell too many copies of Egypt Station, because their copy of that is still sitting on the shelves there in Media Mart. So maybe anyway, it's nice to have it on vinyl. As I say, we need London Town and Back to the Egg next. Please, Paul, I heard rumours this might be the last archive. If that's the case, I'd be mortified, but I don't believe it for a word. But anyway, for a minute. So thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.